Good morning, this is Aunt Beth. Welcome to my lamppost. This morning I wanted to talk to you about the stories that we tell ourselves. I've been thinking a lot about stories and how they shape our lives. And reading and doing some writing myself of stories. But I started thinking about what are the stories that I tell myself. You know, there's a fact that you believe yourself more than anybody else. So what am I talking to myself about as far as myself? You know, there's a story in the Bible about David killing a giant called Goliath. And he had some experience killing a lion and a bear and everything else, but when he was by himself. But this giant was taunting the armies of Israel, and they were paralyzed by fear. So he was shouting at the armies, and David came on the scene, and he had a totally different perspective. Who is this guy? He has no credibility. And David ran at him shouting what he was going to do to him. But he was also reciting his past victories. I think this is a great parable for ourselves. One of the things I've been thinking about when I am upset and I go to bed is, what bedtime story am I telling myself? You know, what am I meditating on all night in my sleep? You know, that thing where you fall asleep with a problem and you wake up with an answer. Well, I want to be intentional about what I'm thinking about myself and what I'm anticipating, because you do get what you expect. Okay, so what am I expecting about myself? And I think about the issue, or I think about the next day and the schedule. You know, it's also another fact that your mind does not know the difference between practicing and real life, which is why a lot of athletes will practice in their mind over and over and over. It's not the same as physical muscle memory, but your mind doesn't know the difference. So, as a side note, be careful what you're listening to or watching, because your mind doesn't know the difference. It's experiencing it. So in the script of your life, you can write the script and practice it. So that's one of the things that I've been thinking about. What bedtime stories am I telling myself when I go to sleep? What am I expecting to happen the next day, and how am I mentally preparing myself to move through that? Am I listening to the taunts of others? Or am I focusing on what God has told me on who I am and the possibility of victory? You know, there's a proverb that says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So what am I thinking on? Who do I want to become? Being intentional about that. And I think that's all I really wanted to talk to you about today is, you know, it's a new experiment for me this year, you know, telling myself bedtime stories. But they're about me and the good, what I'm expecting to happen, but also the good as I want to navigate through who is the person I want to become. So just remember that you'll believe yourself more than anybody else. So be careful what you're saying to yourself about yourself. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And that your mind doesn't know the difference. between practice and actually experiencing the real thing. Same stress hormones, same happiness, same everything else. So, with all the crazy going on, let's be intentional about what we think about and what bedtime story we tell ourselves as we fall asleep. I hope this blesses you. Have a fabulous day. All God's best.